One, welcome back. Two, please accept my apology. It's not Dr. Degruy, it's Dr. Degruy.
Correct.
I got it right?
Yeah, that's right.
I wanted to start off with a question about the calibration of the damage that has been done to us. We talk, and you've been telling us about post-traumatic slave syndrome. But is there any way of really assessing the depth of the damage, the severity of the damage? Is it gone, on its way out, getting worse? And then we'll move into how the surrounding drama of today will impact this, this ongoing disease that we have.
Well, surely it's around. I mean, I think anyone that's looked at it, including the U.S. House of Representatives, is clear that it's still around. The ravages and the impact of enslavement, the period of enslavement, and the periods that followed after that. Everything from, and this is an interesting issues in terms of how we were affected by tangible and intangible ways. We were affected tangibly by the loss of money, of career, of all of the material possibilities we were robbed of. And so we have been adversely impacted as it relates to those tangible material things, a loss of income, of the ability of self-determination, because you don't have the ability to do that. But the intangible ways, the loss of dignity, the loss of a sense of self as a result of brutalization and oppression, continual and perpetual. Now, the U.S. House of Representatives stated all this. This was a public statement made in 2008 where there is an admission. Now, let's be clear, I was never confused that that existed before they made that statement. It was as though, all of a sudden now, because before that, the playing field is leveled. What's wrong with you people? Why are you complaining?
Right.
We've all had an equal opportunity, the bootstrap stuff, the whole thing around that. This is what we were constantly told. You're complaining, you're trying to cast blame, you're trying to find excuses. I mean, all of these things were said, and now they go, oh, by the way, we have ravaged you, done horrible, brutal, inhumane things to you, which has impacted generations up to the present. And we promise to try to do better, essentially.
They can say to you, well, we've been going along with the Black History Month for a long time. Didn't that help?
Exactly. And even Black History Month doesn't tell the truth about the history. Everywhere I go when I talk about our experience and our history, my jaws fall open as though this is some obscure reality that they've never known, because it somehow missed the text. We never got it. So I guess to answer that, yeah, the residual impacts are here in our behavior, adaptive behavior, everything, again, from, I say it always, from what we eat to what we believe about who and what we are. Mm-hmm. The whole idea of self-efficacy, what can I affect? What we do know that if I believe, now first of all, if I don't believe I can do it, but then I look at you, and if you can't do it either, vicariously I'm helpless. Because I believed that if maybe you could, and you're someone I look up to, you have to look at the residual impact of that. Even if I don't believe myself capable, what about those in my environment? Do I believe them capable? And that speaks to families and communities and legacies. It just does. So much of what we arrive at in terms of what we believe we can do has to do with those significant people in our environment. And if those significant people in our environment are broken for whatever reason, then we are getting passed along to us broken concepts and beliefs and perceptions, brokenness. And so we incorporate that into our lives. Now, when you start looking at any of the outside stuff, like you said, it exacerbates that. It just makes it worse. The difference here, and I think, we've spoken about this before, Gil, and that is that when things get deep, and things have always gotten deep for black folks, going all the way back, post-Civil War, trying to figure it out, dealing with the Klan, dealing with segregation, Jim Crow, dealing with all the oppression, police brutality, all of the discriminatory behavior in terms of work and even where you could live. But somehow, we were able to pull together. We were able to say, okay, all right, but you're not going to stop me. We're going to come together as families, as religions, as whatever, to come together to build to somehow stand up to this oppressive force. Now, what has happened in the midst of all of these things? You know, you've had progress. People always say to me, well, why are you complaining? We've got Oprah. Now you got Obama. You know what I'm saying? There you are, you know, as though that somehow erases and eradicates centuries of oppression and institutionalized discrimination, which is alive and well. Let's be clear. None of that changed. But that's what they'll give to you, as the apologists will say, well, certainly, you know, everything is fine now. You know, you have, look at all these millions that, you know, Jay-Z makes. I mean, yeah, those kinds of things that somehow erase the reality of disproportionality on so many levels. But what we're seeing now is those families, the bedrock of our communities, which were often not only extended, but present for us in the times of crisis. They were there. And now we have single parents. Single parents raising a child, male or female, doesn't matter, by themselves. They don't even speak to their parents. There certainly are no grandparents present. So the bedrock that was there to sustain us is no longer there. And now we've had the less knowledge about who we are, less sense of self, which has been eroded by the society around us, which says you are what you have, the materialism, the, you know, American Idol, who wants to be a millionaire, cribs, and, you know, I'm going to get mine, essentially. Mm-hmm. That has deteriorated, further deteriorated our relationships. And as a result of that, now in this new crisis, what is the foundation that's holding us together?
That's where we're going in this discussion. Let's take a break. We'll be back after this. Most of the discourse that has come out of your lectures around the country, if not the world, has been healing from within. But what about the healing process that seems to be necessary from those from without, who created the problem?
Mm-hmm. Who perpetuated it.
Yes. Has that any semblance of a beginning to really confront your life with what you've been doing for those who are white?
I think it happens in pockets and in different groups of people who are very focused and they've always been there, in fact. From the time of enslavement, there were those who fought against and didn't agree with all of the things that were going on. Very rarely were they as overt as, say, John Brown, you know, that kind of stepped out there. But they were there all through the, you know, the Underground Railroad. They were present there, and they are certainly present now. I think the problem is as, you know, this kind of ulcer continues to bleed and you know, fester, we have less information and less inclination towards understanding. On the flip side, you know, for example, I was at the inauguration, right? I was at the inauguration, which was an amazing, absolutely an amazing experience, where you saw people from every walk of life. There literally wasn't a majority. You had people, I mean, literally like sardines together, without incident, mm-hmm. from different races. And what it does is it destroys a lot of the myths that we carry, the fears, the irrational stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think that in general, there has been what has happened to black people as it relates to post-traumatic slave syndrome, and us trying to heal from those wounds, the lies that we've bought about who we are. The fact that we've erased our sense of ourselves, who we are as a people in reference to Africa. Like, you know, I had a chance to go to Ghana and go to different parts, different countries in Africa to get a